Hi everybody, welcome to another of my World Cups. This time I'm doing the World Cup of Beatles White Album songs. So there's 30 songs on this album and I'm going to be putting them into a knockout style draw, ranking them on various categories, and we'll see which comes out the winner. It's just a bit of fun, there's no science involved here. The winner might not even end up being what I think of as my favourite song on the White Album, but we shall see which can battle it through the rounds. Now, let's not get too bogged down in the maths, but I need to whittle these 30 songs down to 16 in the first round, so I need to put 2 songs straight through into the next round. I've got all the songs listed here in a bowl. The first and the last that I pull out are going straight into the next round, and the others... And the first round is going to be on songwriting. So as I pull them out in the draw, we might as well do the songwriting round as we do the draw live. But the first one out the hat and going straight into the next round on a bye is Back in the USSR. Well done to you. So our first matchup is going to be on songwriting, and it is between Bungalow Bill and Rocky Raccoon. Interesting. Now, they're not the two best written songs on the album, I wouldn't say. We've got John versus Paul here. I tend to prefer the story of Rocky Raccoon. I mean, Bungalow Bill's good and fun and all, but Rocky Raccoon, I think, is probably just a better told story overall. So I think for songwriting, the lyrical part of that, I'm putting Rocky Raccoon into the next round. Our next matchup is going to be While My Guitar Gently Weeps versus Good Night. It's George versus John. So for songwriting, you know, Good Night is a lovely song. It's a great way to end the album. I think it was perfect to give it to Ringo. But in terms of songwriting, you're up against one of George's all-time classics here. I don't really think that's too much of a contest. While My Guitar Gently Weeps is going into the next round. Next up, we have Dear Prudence versus Piggies. It's John versus Paul again in terms of written, who wrote the song. You know, Piggies is good. It tells a good story. It's very satirical. Dear Prudence is one of John's classics. I think I'm going to have to put Dear Prudence through there. No doubt about that. That makes its way through into the next round. We then have Birthday versus Don't Pass Me By. It's Paul versus Ringo here. Now, Don't Pass Me By, actually, had been knocking around for years. I was surprised when I read the Mark Lewison tuning book about just how long Don't Pass Me By had been. You know, it could have been one of the very early Beatles songs, but it just wasn't ready. It took him about 5 years to finish it. Birthday, I don't think either of these are the greatest, but in terms of a written song, do you know what? I think because of the story it tells, I'm actually going to go with Don't Pass Me By here. Which might surprise a few people, might surprise myself a little bit there, but yeah, I'm going to put Don't Pass Me By through into the next round. Happiness is a Warm Gun versus Savoy Truffle. Oh, it's a heavyweight John versus George clash here. I do love Savoy Truffle, it's great, it's got a great vibe to it. In terms of songwriting, I think the structure of Happiness is a Warm Gun, the way that those different elements were brought together is classic Beatles of the sort of mid to late 1960s. I think I would have to go with Happiness is a Warm Gun there, but that's harsh on Savoy Truffle getting dumped out in the first round, but that's the way the draw goes. Our next match is Glass Onion versus Obladi Oblada. Now, this is a tricky one. So you've got John sort of very heavy wordplay here. Paul telling a really good story about Desmond and Molly. I think this is not an easy one to call, to be honest. I know a lot of people hate it, but I think I'm going to have to go with Obladi Oblada here. And that's not knocking Glass Onion at all, because it's a great song. But I just think, as much as it gets absolutely slaughtered often by people, Obladi Oblada, I think it's just a really well written song. It's a classic Paul McCartney song. So Obladi Oblada's going through. Sorry, folks, if you don't like it, then do your own World Cup and put Glass Onion through instead. We've then got Revolution 1 versus Martha My Dear. I am increasingly, especially over the last couple of years, I'm increasingly becoming of the opinion that Martha My Dear is an absolute all-time classic Beatles song. It's just growing in stature for me. Revolution is a great statement by John, and it is a fantastically written song. So this is really tough because these are two great pieces of songwriting, genuinely great. Now, whilst I prefer Martha My Dear as a song, for songwriting, I think I'm going to have to go Revolution. I am dumping out what is possibly my favourite song on the album in the first round. I'm gutted about this. Genuinely gutted. Not enough to turn off the camera and start again and redo all this, but let's just go with it. I can't believe Martha My Dear's gone out in the first round. That's genuinely upset me. Anyway, next up, let's move on swiftly before I cancel the whole thing. It's Yeah Blues versus, what was it versus? Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except Me and My Monkey. So it's two John songs from the sort of start of the second half of the album. In terms of songwriting, I think lyrically, I'm going to have to go with Yeah Blues here. Just because I just think lyrically it's just really good. Some of the words that he's come up with on that. So, yeah, again, there's some great songs getting dumped out in the first round here, but it's the White Album. There's so many great songs on it, they can't all go through. So I'm putting Yeah Blues into the next round. Fair enough. Okay, we've then got Blackbird versus Sexy Sadie. Classic Paul versus Great John. Now, Sexy Sadie would beat many songs, I think, in the first round. But I can't put it past Blackbird. Blackbird is, as a piece of songwriting, it's Paul McCartney's, well, it's one of his finest. And it has to go through on songwriting, does Blackbird. So I'm putting Blackbird in the next round there. We've got a few more first round matchups to go. But we're getting there. Helter Skelter versus I'm So Tired. It's John versus Paul again. Songwriting. Now, I'm So Tired. I love the feeling that it gives off of. It just gives off a feeling of tiredness. I love the harmonies and everything. Helter Skelter, in terms of what Paul was trying to achieve with that song, he wanted to write the loudest, dirtiest rock song ever. I think he absolutely achieved that at that point. And it's a stunning song, great piece of songwriting. I'm going to have to put Helter Skelter through there. I'm So Tired, another great song, is getting dumped out. Unbelievable. Okay, Honey Pie versus I Will. So it's Paul versus Paul here. Both beautifully written songs. But a snap decision here. For the fact that this was 1968... I Will is a great song for 1968, but the fact that Paul then could actually write something that sounded like it could be a Noel Coward song from decades earlier, and that it could slip so seamlessly into that style, I think I have to go with Honey Pie for songwriting, because it's one of those that just sort of really proves the versatility of Paul McCartney and what he could do. So yeah, Honey Pie goes through there. We've then got Mother Nature's Son versus Cry Baby Cry. It's Paul versus John again. Cry Baby Cry, great lyrics. It's very much John in his Lewis Carroll, Alice Through the Looking Glass style of story. Mother Nature's Son, a beautifully written piece of just sitting back, relaxing under your tree, letting nature waft over you. So this is a tough one, but I think I'm going to have to go with Mother Nature's Son here. Again, harsh on Cry Baby Cry, because it would have beaten a lot of songs in the first round, but it came up against a heavyweight. Mother Nature's Son goes through. We've then got our penultimate matchup, it is, because I can see there's 3 left in here. We've got Wild Honey Pie versus Why Don't We Do It in the Road. And now, I think some people might say that these are the 2 worst examples of songwriting on the White Album. I wouldn't, because I like Why Don't We Do It in the Road. I think it's a good, fun song. Wild Honey Pie doesn't really have anything in terms of songwriting. It can't win again. There's not much it can win against. So I have to put Why Don't We Do It in the Road through to the next round. Okay, our last matchup. I'm going to shuffle these 3 because the third one that's in here is going straight into the next round on a bye. We've got Long, Long, Long versus Revolution 9. Songwriting. Well, Revolution 9's not really even a song, is it? It's a soundscape. I do love Revolution 9. I think it's a really important part of the White Album. It's not the White Album without Revolution 9 for me. I would never skip it. Long, Long, Long is a beautiful George song, but I think songwriting, it has to be long, long, long. I can't put Revolution 9 through on songwriting. We have one left. It's going straight into the next round so that we make up our 16. So the lucky winner is Julia. Well, I think that would have probably got through on songwriting against most things anyway. So that's the draw done, which you will see on your screen now, and we've also completed the first round in the process, so we are through to the last 16. Okay, we are into round 2 now. It's the last 16, and the category for this is going to be Epicness. So just how epic are these songs? Some of them definitely more than others, but I'm going to be having a look at what's in round 2 for this, and our first matchup is Back in the USSR, that got a bye straight into this round, versus Rocky Raccoon. So I think for epicness, Rocky Raccoon isn't an epic song in any way, and Back in the USSR isn't, but certainly in terms of production and the oomph that it's got, the backing vocals, the aeroplanes coming in at the beginning and going off at the end, I think it has to be Back in the USSR. They're progressing into the next round, and Rocky Raccoon is dumped out. The next one, wow, this is a contest for epicness. While My Guitar Gently Weeps versus Dear Prudence. This is not easy at all. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps is an epic song. I've always kind of been of the opinion that I wish that George had just left it as it was at the start, the demo version that that you hear on Anthology 3. That I would have just loved it to have been that on the White Album. I prefer it to what it became, but it has become something epic. There's no doubt about that. Dear Prudence is also epic. It's probably one of John's most epic on the album. But I don't think you can argue against While My Guitar Gently Weeps in this particular matchup. So yeah, I'm going to have to put While My Guitar Gently Weeps into the last 8. That was a tough one. Next one is Don't Pass Me By versus Happiness Is a Warm Gun. I don't think there's any real argument here in terms of epicness. The way that Happiness Is a Warm Gun shifts through the gears, John's singing style shifts. It's just far more epic than Don't Pass Me By is fun. If this was a fun category, then it would have been a lot closer. That would have been a decision to make, but Happiness Is a Warm Gun is way more epic. That is going through to the next round. Next up, Obladi Oblada versus Revolution 1. So for epicness, well, I don't think Obladi Oblada is epic, really. I've already said I really like the song, but Revolution 1, it's one of several of John's big statements that he made throughout his life. It's up there with Give Peace a Chance and Imagine All the People, for example. Imagine No Possessions, that kind of thing. So I think it has to be Revolution here for epicness. That is going through. Our next matchup is Yeah Blues versus Blackbird. Yeah Blues is a good sort of bluesy rock song, but I wouldn't say it's epic in any way. Blackbird in itself isn't epic. It's Paul and it's an acoustic guitar and it's a little bit of bird song in the background. But I think what it's become and the message that it conveys, that's pretty epic. So although it's maybe not the archetypal song for this category, Blackbird is going through here. Our next matchup is Helter Skelter versus Honey Pie. For epicness, I don't think you can look beyond Helter Skelter here. As great as Honey Pie is, and as great as I've said it was in terms of Paul being able to do that kind of thing, you can also say, well, it was great to see that Paul could do the Helter Skelter kind of thing as well, because we'd not seen that before, but it is a truly epic song in so many ways. That flies through into the next round, no problem at all. Then we've got Mother Nature's Son versus Why Don't We Do It in the Road. Two very unepic songs here, but I think just for the beauty of it, the epicness of it is in its beauty. I would have to go with Mother Nature's Son here. That is going to go through into the next round. And our last matchup in round 2 is Long 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 versus Julia. So this is a tough one. Again, there's two quiet songs, very low key. Julia is a great song about John singing about his mum, but I think he'd gone to do something far more epic about his mum with Mother on Plastic Ono Band. Long, 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 while it's not epic at all, I think there's a vibe and a mood to it. It's as you move into that last kind of third or quarter of the White Album, and I always say the White Album should, that back end of the White Album should take you to a dark place. And Long, Long, Long is the start of that for me, the mood that it's building up. And especially the ending where it all goes like, ooh, it all goes a bit ghostly. And then you hear that sort of twang on the acoustic guitar, the really trebly twang. It builds up to quite a scary end. So I'm going to put Long, Long, Long through into the next round. So that's round 2 done. We've now got our quarter final lineup, which is going to be on musicianship. Okay, we're into the quarter final now, the final 8, and I've just had a look at this. There are 4 Paul songs, 2 John and 2 George. Make of that what you will. But anyway, our first matchup in the quarter final is Back in the USSR versus While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And the category for this quarter final is musicianship. So this is an interesting one because Back in the USSR is... it's really well played throughout, really well sung, but I'm not sure that it can compete with While My Guitar Gently Weeps. I'm almost trying to ignore the Eric Clapton guitar solo in While My Guitar Gently Weeps, because as brilliant as it is, it's not the Beatles. It wasn't one of the Beatles doing it, so I'm trying to think. I want to include it, but I don't want to sort of fully include it. But I think even so, with the great sort of Paul piano intro, and just generally, I think the musicianship of While My Guitar Gently Weeps is a slight step above Back in the USSR. They are both great, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to have to put While My Guitar Gently Weeps into the semi-final. Yeah, there you go. So the next up is Happiness is a Warm Gun versus Revolution 1. So one of the John songs has got to go, unfortunately, the way the draws worked out. So in terms of musicianship, Revolution 1... So that, of course, this is the more sort of bluesy, acoustic, laid-back version of Revolution, rather than the full-on electric version that was the B-side to Hey Jude. And you know, it's a good little bluesy song. I don't think it was stretching the Beatles in any way of their capabilities musically, but it's got those really nice harmonies. The bum shooby doo up. That's really nice. But I think Happiness is a Warm Gun because of the structure of it, and that must have been quite complicated to put together. I think I'm probably going to have to put Happiness is a Warm Gun through into the semi-finals. Next up is Blackbird versus Helter Skelter. This is a really difficult one to choose because Helter Skelter is a great band effort. And they were doing they were making a style of song that they'd never really made before. Fantastic drumming by Ringo. You've got some great guitar work and really sort of chuggy, dirty bass playing on there. And then you're comparing that to Blackbird, which is obviously a complete opposite of a song. Again, showing like the genius of Paul McCartney having 2 songs so different on the same album. But that guitar part for Blackbird is just possibly the greatest little guitar thing he's ever come up with. And it's just so intricate and beautiful. So this is really difficult. And I could argue a case for either here, but I think because of the beauty of that acoustic guitar part and how legendary that's become and how recognisable it's become, I think I have to put Blackbird through. That is not an easy decision at all because, I could have made a case for either there, but Blackbird is going into the semi-final. Our last semi-final place will belong to either Mother Nature's Son or Long, Long, Long. So this is musicianship. Now, Mother Nature's Son has got that beautiful, beautiful guitar part. It's a lovely little thing. Again, it's probably not quite up to the standard of Blackbird. I mean, it's so easy that even I can play it, and I can't get anywhere near playing Blackbird. Then Long, Long, Long is just, there's some really nice things on there throughout. So this is tough. But I think I'm probably going to have to put Long, Long, Long through on this one, just because as beautiful as the guitar part is on Mother Nature's Son, it's not that difficult to learn and do for anybody who can play a bit on guitar. So yeah, I'm putting long through into the semi-final. So we've got our final four coming up, and our category for the semi-final is going to be overall enjoyment. So it's semi-final time. We've got 4 songs remaining. Let's just see who's got how many songs in. Paul has got 1 song, George has got 2 songs, and John's got 1. So George doing really well here. I wasn't expecting him to do that, but look at the draw. That's how it's turned out. He's done well. He's played well as George so far. But our first semi-final is While My Guitar Gently Weeps versus Happiness Is a Warm Gun. So this is overall enjoyment. How much do I enjoy these songs, putting everything else aside? I've already said that with While My Guitar Gently Weeps, I kind of wished that George had stayed with the original demo. And while I really love While My Guitar Gently Weeps, what we've got on the album, I don't think I enjoy it as much as I enjoy Happiness Is a Warm Gun. It's just the roller coaster ride that song takes you through is fantastic, really. And I always come off the back of that thinking, that was amazing, well played. So yeah, I'm going to have to put Happiness Is a Warm Gun is going into the final. I probably wouldn't have predicted that at the start, but the way it's worked out, it's done well. Our second semi-final is Blackbird versus Long Long Long. So again, overall enjoyment. Which one am I going to enjoy the most? So Long Long Long, as I've said, is that period of the album, about sort of 3/4, 2/3 of the way through, where I want it to start taking me into a dark place, and this does it perfectly. So it's a really important song on the album for me, and I really, really love it. At the end is almost scary. It's like something from a horror film. Blackbird, I mean, what a song, what a great song, and all I can do when I hear that is just admire how great it is. So for overall enjoyment, this isn't easy, but I think I would have to go with the just epic that is Blackbird here. I just absolutely love it, and that's going through to the final. So we've got our finalists: Happiness Is a Warm Gun versus Blackbird. Congratulations to those 2 songs for making it through. The category that I have chosen for the final is legacy. I thought to myself, this isn't a category I've had before, but I needed an extra category because there was an extra round here, and I thought legacy is a good one. If any song that's made it through to this point, to the final, you know, how well has it stood the test of time? So Happiness Is a Warm Gun versus Blackbird for the final. Happiness Is a Warm Gun, its legacy, I don't think it has a massive legacy. I mean, it's certainly well loved by Beatles fans, but outside of Beatles fans, I don't think it's massively made its mark. I mean, one of the unfortunate elements of its legacy is just the title of the song and how that applies to what eventually happened to John, and that's quite a sort of a sad thing to think that such a great song has got a title with such sort of horrible connotations. But Blackbird, I think, does have a great legacy, and I know there's this argument with Blackbird about, oh, it was only recently that Paul decided that that it was going to be a song about civil rights movements. But there is, you know, there is evidence out there. There's a recording of Paul talking to Donovan in the studio in 1968. And they are having a little bit of a joke at first. They make a bit of a joke that he probably wouldn't have told these days, but you could get away with a lot more back then. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and search for it, you'll find it. But it does then lead on to Paul saying something along the lines of, well, you know, that's kind of what the song was about, you know, sort of civil rights movements and the struggles that they were having. So he was thinking along those lines even in 1968. So it does have a great legacy for that. So I'm going to have to declare Blackbird the winner on legacy, and therefore the winner of my World Cup of Beatles White Album songs. Would I have predicted Blackbird to win at the start? I would certainly have had it as a contender. I would have had Dear Prudence as a contender, but it got knocked out. I would have had Martha My Dear as a contender, but that got knocked out in the first round. But yeah, Blackbird has won. That is my World Cup. I'm going to do more of these. If you've got ideas about things you'd like me to do as a World Cup, whether it's songs or albums or whatever. Let me know if it's something I feel I can do justice to and enjoy in the process, then I may well do it. Let me know your comments about the World Cup, and thank you very much for watching. I will see you again very soon. Goodbye.